That's wonderful. I just want, some of you already know me. My name is Joanne Dodge, and I am a 3-time breast cancer survivor. I was 42 years old the first time. The cancer was in the left breast, and I had a lumpectomy. Then some years later, I had cancer on the right side, and once again a lumpectomy. And on both occasions, I had 6 weeks of radiation. Unfortunately, I'm not alone. When you see some of the people out there wearing beads like this, say hello and give them a big smile, because this means that we're all survivors. For a lot of years, I worked for a mental health agency, and I was the business manager. Anyway, there was a great guy at one of the other centers who had lymphoma, and we used to joke about our cancers together. He told me that the radiation gave me 2 neon headlights. Around 8 years later, not to be outdone, breast number 1 acted up again, and this time I had to have a mastectomy. So this time he told me that now I was a padiddle. I was going to explain what a padiddle was, but it sounds like most of you know that already. So we'll move on. When I had the first cancer, I was terrified, sure I was going to die. Some years later, when I was diagnosed with the second one on the other side, I was upset, but I knew what was in store, and I looked upon it as an inconvenience. After the third episode, I received a call from a local organization that visited people with breast cancer. The woman said she wanted to come and bring me some information. By this time, I had helped start one of the first support groups in the state. I was also one of the founders of the New Hampshire Breast Cancer Coalition. I didn't need information. I was a freaking expert. But she persisted, so I told her to come. She gave me reading material and then reached into her magic bag and pulled out this round object that was filled with soft cotton-like material. She asked what size I was, and when I told her, she announced that the cotton ball in her hand wasn't large enough, and she put it away. It was enormous. I begged her to let me keep it. I just knew it would fit, but she was adamant that I needed a bigger one, and she took it with her as she went out the door. Later that day, when I arrived home from running some errands, there was a bag hanging from the doorknob. Inside was an object the size of a basketball. I pulled out more than half the cotton and stuck the remaining ball into my empty bra. The next morning, I headed out to a meeting, excited about actually going to something normal after all the surgery and after effects. As I drove along, I became aware of something crawling up my neck, and it was bumping into my chin. I reached up, and there was that cotton boob. He's climbing to safety. So I went through it on the floor and I went on my way. Eventually, after all the healing had taken place, I went to be fitted for one of those new fancy plastic contraptions that was to take the place of my breast. It even came with a tiny nipple on the front, as if anyone was ever going to see it. There was a little pocket inside my bra, and this new gadget fit right inside. It took a long time to get used to it. I spent hours checking myself in the mirror, often finding one boob 2 inches higher than the other. I'd slowly walk up to a wall to see if they both touched at the same time. I was constantly pulling and tugging the damn thing, sure it was out of place, and on occasion it was. Sometimes I'd be walking into a store and notice that I was walking straight ahead and the boob was facing left. Now, standing in the middle of a busy parking lot trying to make an adjustment is not easy. It took me a year to get used to it. All of this adjusting reminds me of my prom gown many, many years ago. It was a mesh creation with these front built out with, I don't think they had plastic then, but it was like metal or something. Things, you know, that held the front of the gown out. None of me was touching the inside of that gown, I have to tell you. And it was a permanent thrust. And what I had filled up about half that space. If I turned my upper body, the gown started. And if we danced a real slow, romantic dance, and we pulled apart at the end, the top of the gown was inverted inside. I digress. Eventually, the new boob and I became bosom buddies, and I stopped checking and pushing and pulling. If I noticed it was out of place, I'd just give it a tug and go on my way. I'm sure when people saw me doing that, they thought I was rather strange, but at least I could get mine straightened out with a tug. They were stuck with what they had. Now I've grown older, I don't think about it too much. I consider myself one of the lucky ones. If the boob isn't in the right place, that's fine. It is plenty of company. The rest of my body isn't in the right place. Everything is sagging and drooping, and nothing is where it once belonged. But that damn plastic space-age boob is just as perky as ever.